I'm Sam Weatherly with MakerMex. So this is my first pitch night, I guess. Startup night. So I haven't been here before, seen any of these, so it's kind of cool to see. I did do Start Norfolk, as Zach said. It was a great weekend, and we did do the Kickstarter campaign back in October. So we started about 3.5 years ago, in the 3D printing industry. We started prototyping for college students, and we realized that the market was much bigger in manufacturing 3D printers than prototyping services. So we decided to get out of prototyping services, but we still offer prototyping services. But we started to make our own printers because we realized the information and the open source platforms that we were using were so readily available, and we could start making our own. So RepRap machines are what they're called, and they're made with printed parts. So we print a lot of the parts that we use to manufacture the machines. We started with 2 different platforms, primarily in the Latin American market. My brother-in-law Luigi's sitting over here, and my wife Adriana. We manufacture in Mexico, and we started the company down there to kind of capitalize on the lack of 3D printing industry in Mexico. So currently, to compare, if you guys have heard of the names like MakerBot in the 3D printing industry or anything like that, we are primarily the MakerBot of Mexico and Latin America. We're the biggest manufacturer and biggest 3D printing company in Mexico and Latin America. And we didn't move the company here until we had our own product, because there was so many open source printers already on the US market. We spent the last year refining and building our own platform to launch into the US market, to try to be competitive and offer something different than what everyone else is offering. So back in, would have been September, we started pre-marketing for a Kickstarter campaign. We did some heavy pre-marketing for our Kickstarter through Facebook and some other promotional channels and them internets. And we built up a pretty good hype. We did about $17,000 or $18,000 in the first 12 hours. So we were like cloud 9, like really excited, really pumped up. Really cool experience to go through. Kind of steadied out. The middle was a little low, gets a little shaky. If anyone's done a Kickstarter, it's a very nerve-wracking time for 30 days. We spent 6 months preparing for the Kickstarter, and videos and photography and just trying to get the product pretty and photo ready, and trying to figure out how to make a cool video, and writing scripts and writing all the marketing material. It was insane, but it was a lot of fun, and it was definitely, the juice was worth the squeeze. It's an expensive venture doing a Kickstarter. You raise 60 grand, but it's like, holy cow, how much it really went into doing it. You start to realize that it's more of a marketing tool. Kickstarter is a new product launch. So we did well. We funded. We're currently shipping beta. We're a couple months delayed as you go through the development process. When you launch a Kickstarter, your early development, your alpha stage, you're using Kickstarter funds to finish the development platform, to get to the production stage, right? So when you get into production, you realize, holy cow, we're not ready for production. So you start to refine things, you start to fix things, you start to find problems, and it just delays you a little bit more. But the Kickstarter backers were great. Adriana's been in communication with all of our Kickstarter backers really well. She's staying on top of everyone. She's done a really good job. Updates all the time. We post updates every 3 or 4 weeks. If it was up to Adriana, she'd post them daily, but 3 or 4 weeks is good. We let our backers know where we're at, what's going on, lots of pictures, lots of descriptions of what we're doing. It's been pretty exciting. Everyone understands that, we are in early development, we are in beta, and everyone's like, take your time, get it right. We know we're beta backers. If anyone knows what a beta tester is, it's an early purchaser, an early adopter. They know they're getting a pretty raw version, your first production batch of these, and they're there to help. They know that they're going to help you refine it and make it that really market ready product. So everyone's like, just get it right, take your time. They understand. So we started shipping last week. We had some shipping hiccups, I'll call them, or damages. So I'm glad we had about 23 printers that we were shipping. We shipped 8 to the US first, so we could disperse our 8 US backers. And it was a good thing we did that, because we shipped them to our office here. And it was great because we caught a lot of flaws in packaging that if we would have shipped all 23 out around the globe, and they're showing up left and right broken or damaged or cracked this, and it was like, oh man. So we were able to quickly fix a couple shipping issues, and now we're starting to ship internationally. We got printers on the way to Canada and Australia. We're starting to ship the printers out of the U.S. A couple minor fixes here and there, but nothing major. So that's where we're at today. You know, we do all our manufacturing, like I said, in Mexico and Latin America. We're building the marketplace here for the MM1 product. And a lot of times, you know, we're supposed to talk about what's different about your product, right? And why would a consumer buy your product, or what's different, what's great about yours? How does it differentiate from the other printers on the market? Because there's hundreds of printers. It's the hot topic right now. 3D printing is the buzz phrase, the catchword, right? Everyone's kind of talking about 3D printing. But what's different about ours is when you look at a machine like a MakerBot or a printer bot or an Ultimaker or any of these platforms, they all do the same thing. They all 3D print, right? They all take plastic, they melt it. I mean, these are hands-on these, so we can pass these around. They melt it and they form things layer by layer, right? So what's different about our platform is as you grow, this is carbon fiber actually. That's going to be carbon fiber. As you grow and you get a little bit of knowledge into the 3D printing world, you know, you can start with a nice base platform and learn how to print your simple plastics and do your things like your MakerBots and your Ultimakers can do. But then you want to do more. And if you buy an Ultimaker or a MakerBot, or you buy any of these, a Cubify or any of these, you know, big manufacturing names, you know, that have billions of dollars of support systems behind them, you buy these products, that's what you get. You get that product. You know, it's like when you get it, that's all you get. It's like buying a Nintendo 64 or whatever, and then 6 months later they come out with the Xbox, and then 6 months later they come out with the PlayStation, and then the 2, and then the 3, and then the 4, and then you're constantly having to buy a new one, right? So what we did is we developed a platform that's modular. So we spent all of our time focusing on how can we be different, how can we offer something that's more. And it's really because we're makers and we've been through the experience of buying printers and then being like, man, I want to do more with it. And we always want to create more. So we built a really strong, sturdy platform with a modular head design. So we can remove, come on in guys, have a seat. So we can 3D print those plastics, but then we can remove the head and we can put a different head on, and we can print in other materials. We can print in carbon fiber, we can print in wood, we can print in soft materials. So you can print flexible materials like this. You can print in things that are rubber like Ninja Flex. So you can print like loafers and things like that hold to your feet really well. We can print. We also have paste extrusion systems, so we can print everything from chocolate, peanut butter, silicone, clay, ceramic. Lots of different experimental materials that you can 3D print with. So what our design does is allow the user to have a platform that is a 3D printer, but then expand on that. And with it being RepRap and with it being open source, all of our source files are readily available. So as your skills and your knowledge into the industry start to get better and better and better, you can take your platform and you can adapt it to do what you want it to do and not just what the manufacturer says it can do. So all of our source files are open source. Everything is readily available for you to get in there. You can play with things, you can do things. We've even developed a CNC milling head. So imagine a Dremel tool sitting on top of a 3D printer so we can carve things and machine things that way on the same platform. So instead of spending your money on a $1,200 or $1,500 or $2,000 3D printer, which that's what you're going to get as your 3D printer, you spend your $1,500 on an MM1, and then when you decide you want to print in 2 materials, or you decide you want to print in wood, or you decide you want to print in some rubbers, you spend about $200 and you buy another module and you pop it on, or you develop your own, you know, because all the source files are readily available. So that's where we're at right now. That's why our product's a little bit different. That's why we're having fun with it. We're makers at heart. That's what we do. You know, I make all the time. Everything you see, print in my living room with my kids, cookie cutters, Yoda cookie cutters, you know, iPhone cases. This sits on my wife's desk all the time. You know, multicolored prints, cool stuff like that. Light switch covers, whatever you want to do, decorations for your house, STEM tools. So let's talk about STEM a little bit and how a 3D printer can be incorporated into the education system, right? 3D printing is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's been here for a while, but it's just becoming more and more popular. and it's really going to hit our education system really hard. And we're going to be on top of that. Things like this, simple devices like this, are going to teach kids how to 3D print in a cool way. It's a balloon-powered race car, right? Blow up a balloon sticking on top, blows air up the rear, right? So what can we do with that? We can teach kids about different forms of 3D printing, design, manufacturing, but then we teach them about things like, propulsion or resistance, and we can wrap rubber bands around the wheels and teach them what traction is, things like that, right? So 3D printing is going to become more and more popular in the STEM field, and part of where we're going in the future is more and more into the education side of things, into teaching what 3D printing really is. Your big manufacturers are using 3D printing. Boeing released not too long ago that the new Airbus has over 1,000 3D printed parts on the plane. So your big manufacturing companies have already been using this technology. It's already readily available. It's there. Everything's going in an additive manufacturing direction to avoid waste products. When you're making things with no waste, how much more efficient is that? You're not cutting, you're not milling, you're not carving. There's no scrap. There's nothing. You're taking a product and you're creating it. And there's no waste product. So a lot of manufacturing is going the direction, and the sooner we get our students involved in the process, even at a basic level of just basic FDM printing simple things like this in the classroom, and take about 5 minutes for each kid to print one of these, they start to learn how to make. My son's 6 years old, and he's like, "Papa, can we print this? Papa, can we make this?" It's like, yeah, we can. We can make anything. We can do it. So you get in that maker mentality, and you start to look at things different. You start to look at things from a design-based thinking. You start to look at the big picture of things, and you start to say, how can I change this? How can I make this better? How can I make this myself? What can I do differently? That's part of where we're going with our education system with MakerMex, and getting more and more printing into the hands of the kids and seeing where they can go with it. So I think Zach's giving me time. Has anyone got any questions? Yeah.
I've got 2 questions for you. I'm Justin, by the way.
Hi.
What's your background?
Mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a degree in mechanical engineering. I've been a mechanic for BMW and Mercedes for the last 10 years.
Okay.
So my mechanical engineering background is pretty solid.
Sure.
Yeah.
What are you guys working with? Do you guys have a design patent, or are you worried about any of your bigger competitors taking some of your market share?
We're not worried about our competitors. We'll carve our own market with a differentiated product. Everything we do is open source. You can have everything you want to know about it. A lot of the bigger manufacturers in the industry right now are still open source. The open source community is what really built the 3D printing, consumer level 3D printing marketplace. MakerBots, they all started open source until they got big capital investments, and then they closed their doors. And that's what happens when big business steps in. You look at your 2 biggest manufacturers of 3D printers on the planet. You have 3D Systems and Stratasys. Stratasys owns MakerBot, that's their consumer level, and they're now closed source. And you look at 3D Systems, so it's Cubify, and they're also closed source. So when you buy their product, that's what you get. It's their product. You can only use their things on it. It's very locked down. And you look at the thousands of other printers that are coming onto the marketplace, and they're all open source. And it's the community that's really developing and pushing the advancement of the technology. So we'll stay open source, everything we do. If we ever decide to go closed source, I'll definitely have some words with my partners. But we're very supportive of the open source community.
Gotcha.
So, questions? Anything about 3D printing yet?
All right. So has there been anything that you really wanted to build with 3D printer and you couldn't? Has there been anything that you wanted to build and you couldn't do it?
That's a good question. I mean, we can't 3D print houses yet, but we're working on it. Yeah, we are working on it. I know, we're working on it.
There's concrete printers out there.
I know. Oh, I know all about them. So that's one thing that I would love to be able to print is larger items on an industrial level. But we're working on it. We're makers. We're always going to be working on something. There's always going to be something new we're playing with. We're never going to settle for our platform being done. We're always going to be improving it. When you buy our machine, there's constantly going to be new add-ons, new additions, new modifications, things to make it better and better and better. This is what we do. We're not going to release another one in 6 months and do another Kickstarter or something. We're like, hey, here's the MM2. No, that's not what we do. Yep.
So what accounted you growth
projections in the next 3 to 5 years?
What the what? Huh? One more time?
Growth projections in terms of where, ideally you guys want to be in the next 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. Well, I see as for our Latin American branch, we'll be a dominant force in the 3D printing industry. We'll be the #1 manufacturer. We'll have contracts with every major school, every major college. We'll be hosting workshops throughout the country. Here in the U.S., we'll be really focusing on our education platform because competing in the U.S. With hardware is very, very difficult, right? I mean, and margins on hardware are tight. You have Chinese manufacturing and all these different factors, and everyone's copying this, and everyone's releasing a $99 printer or $179 printer. Well, that's great. You're going to get that $179 printer, but what do you do when you have it? Do you know how to use it? Do you know how to use it effectively? And then that's where our product plays. And when people get these inexpensive printers that hit the market and they only do one thing, they keep doing that one thing all the time, and they're like, okay, now what can I do with it? What else can I print? And that's when people start to seek out products like ours that are, we've successfully printed how many different materials?
We have printed non-concrete, that's the cement. We have the big aggregates, called in English, like gravel.
Yeah.
We have been able to print cement. We have been able to print gravel.
Soft things. This is wood, glow-in-the-dark materials, water-soluble materials, all kinds of neat stuff. So yeah, that's in 3 to 5 years we'll have an education platform that'll be in a lot of different school systems. So that's where our aim is. Any other questions? No? Yo.
Have you considered how you're going to grow cross-platform? For instance, MakerMex. They have the iPad apps. They have service plans. They have a large platform. You're not just buying the hardware. You're also getting software suites. You're getting service packages. The ability to deliver the product on iPad.
Right. Training will be the biggest thing. What I found here, especially locally, is a lot of the schools are starting to acquire printers, but they don't know what to do with them. I just did a training session actually right before this at a school here locally that they had bought a printer about 2 years ago because of the big printer hype, and it's been sitting because they don't know how to use it effectively. They don't know what to do with it. And you walk in and you can show them what their machine can do, and then you show them how your machine can do things that their machine can't do. And you don't talk down on the machine. The MakerBots and the Cubes and the Ultimakers are incredible machines. They do awesome things. But the sales come from showing a school that these are great machines, the ones that you already have, or maybe they can come in and write a huge contract with you and provide you all these big bells and whistles with their lawyers and all these things. But are you going to be able to effectively use the machine? Or when your students are tired of using the machine to do one thing, are they going to be able to do other things with it? But we'll also have iPad capabilities. We're also working on network capabilities, things like Raspberry Pis, things like that, where you can link up wireless printing, bot queuing, so queuing up prints, so they can things like that. Go ahead.
I want to say a little about it. Mostly everything that's because the community that it already exists in open source, it's much bigger than what you're going to find with just MakerMex. So you're going to find much more applications already working for every printer than applications working just for MakerBot. Just Thingiverse, which is one of the most successful things MakerBot has done, is getting right now. If you see the growth of Thingiverse and Imagine, which is the Ultimaker alternative, Ultimaker is growing faster because they allow people to use everything. And the more they close to just MakerBot, the more people are going to start using their systems.
The thing is the industry is changing so fast that you need the support of the community, and you need them to understand how your machine works and be open source. So you have people all over the planet that can use your product and make it better and improve it and feed into that platform instead of just a small team of engineers at a company, or some review websites or something like that. So when you're open source, you you have the ability to advance your technology a lot faster and refine it and diversify it because you have a large pool of people that are executing into it.
The perfect example I can give you is there's a software called Cura. It's developed by, it was developed by a guy called Knight, that's his nickname online. Ultimaker supports teams and he pays for him. It's still open source. They print with Windows Phone, they print with Ultimaker. You can make Gcode for MakerMex, you can make Gcode for every open source wrapper out there that exists. So most people prefer to use Cura than MakerBot's version for 3D printing Gcode generator. So most people change from because it's better. They make more little add-ons that make some differences. So sometimes some things is getting better because it's going much faster than the alternative that just works for MakerBot.
Perfect. Great job.
Yep.